Welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me, as usual, Mr. Clay Russell. I gotta say, I honestly wasn't sure that you and I were gonna film this week. I thought I had in my mind, I hadn't talked to anybody, but I had in my mind a couple of audibles because you've been gone the last couple of days.
Yeah, I just gone Wednesday afternoon and Thursday. It was always my plan to be here on Friday. You got a lot going on, not able to, just stay gone very long. We went down to New Orleans, but with a ball game at 12 o'clock on Thursday, we had two options. Either you can, leave early. In my mind, I'm not going to go Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah.
So in my mind, you either leave Thursday morning and then stay after the ball game and come back Friday, or either, you leave down on Wednesday. And so we chose, seeing how it was Cooper's last game, to leave on Wednesday so that we could just hang out with them. And so we knew that, there would be a spot where they hung out at the rest area for like an hour. And so instead of him being bored, he just got to hang out with us. We knew that we get to watch his last practice, in an LSU indoor facility. And so that was really cool to get to go see. And so for us, it was more about the moment, and the moment was more ahead of time. Once it's over, it's over. And the person that we want to celebrate with or console or whatever is riding back with us. So it was one of those cool events to where most of the time, or every other time we've ever had a football game, the team rides back together. But in this instance, we knew that they had decided ahead of time that the football players had the option to ride back with their families to be checked out. So we're going to be with him for the next 4 or 5 hours in the car after the game's over with anyhow. So for us, it just made more sense for us to leave, work Wednesday morning, head on down with the team, take our time, and then come back after the game. So that's what we did.
Yeah, man. That normally when you or I are traveling, we will have a 30-second conversation on. It basically goes, "Hey, I'm gonna be gone, such and such. Can you film on this day at that time?" Right. And we did not do that this time. This is the first time, possibly ever, that we haven't done that. And so I just because we hadn't talked about it, I just went ahead and kind of planned a couple of audibles in my mind just to make sure everything continued to go smooth. To be honest, I expected you back because you didn't tell me you weren't going to be here. Yeah. And so that was kind of seeing as how the pattern has always been that you let me know if you weren't going to be. The fact that you didn't tell me you weren't going to be, I expected that you were. But in the off chance that there was a miscommunication, I wanted to make sure we were good on my end.
No, we're back. This week I had our Christmas party for a fresh start on Tuesday, and so I always take off that day and and cook for everybody. I hate to take off, and I spent 12 hours cooking for everybody, right? Yeah. And so Monday was a big day. Came to work, and then went to Sam's and bought everything for the party, and then Monday night went to the prison in Richland Parish and got to speak to those guys again. Really enjoyed that. That was 2 Mondays in a row that I got to do that. So very happy about that. And then Tuesday took off, and me and my wife, cooked for our work family all day long, and we really enjoy that and having people in our homes and stuff. And then Wednesday, it was about getting everything done that we could get done to head to New Orleans, and the rest of Wednesday was all about Cooper and the team and logistics, and then Thursday was all about his last game ever, and then getting the family home and all that. So we got all that worked out. Got in about 11:30 last night, and so life is good.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. I obviously already know, but I think that our listeners deserve to know. Man, how did it go?
The game?
How'd the game go?
Everything that I wanted to accomplish in the game got accomplished. And so here was my mindset. My mindset was I wanted to get to the game early. They had said that media could get in there at 10:30. I was there at the door at 10. I've never done media there in the Superdome and wanted to, figure it out.
Sure.
And so we got in at 10:30. We were able to get our passes and stuff, and my next goal was to go get everything set up. as quick as possible. Found where we're supposed to be very easily. Some people helped us out. Got up there, got set up, found it was a perfect spot. And then my next goal was to get down on the field and get to see the boys pregame. And I didn't know if that was possible or not. I didn't know where my credentials, if I would be able to. And so I wanted to be able to do that. And I didn't want in the hotel room to be the last time I saw Cooper, until after the game. And so I was able to get to the field and get down there with Principal Tyler Dean and everybody and hang out on the field for a while. And then Cooper was in the locker room. I asked the coach, hey, where's the locker room at? And he said, I'll take you. So next thing you know, I'm in the locker room, getting to be with those boys ahead of time, boys that I've coached, forever. And then after that, was able to take a picture with Cooper when he ran out on the field for warm-ups before I went upstairs. Mm-hmm. And then the next 3 hours, I got to call my son's very last football game, and which is something that we've been doing for years. I've either coached him or called his games. I've never been a fan. Mm-hmm. I've never sat on the sideline or in the stands at a football game. So I've either coached his football games or I've been in the radio broadcast booth, one of the two. And so got to go out like that and finish like that, call my son's game. At the end, with a minute and a half left, we called our last time out, and I knew there was nothing that we could do. It was only second down. And so Billy told me to go ahead and go, and so I was able to run out, go all the way down. I was up there hanging out with Jesus, was able to take an elevator all the way down and get out on the field with my pass. And as soon as the clock hit, I was on the field. And so I was able to be down there on the field, be able to hug my son and be there for him. And so everything that I wanted to accomplish happened. Yeah. I have no control over the game whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I'm not a coach. I'm not a play caller. I'm not a participant. All I do is call the games, and love on the kids and stuff. So everything that I wanted to accomplish got accomplished. Yeah. At the end of the day, we can only control what we can control. Sure. And I have no issues with that. Yeah. A lot of people have issues with that. That's not something I struggle with. Mm. If it's in my control, hey, I'm all about it. But if it's not, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and complain about officials all day because I'm not an official. I can't do anything. I'm not going to complain about coaches and stuff. I'm not coaching. Players, I'm not a player. Now if I do not do a good job on the radio, hey, that's on me. I can deal with that. Yeah. But as far as those things that are not in my control, I can't control. Now, it would have been really difficult for those security people to keep me off of that field. Sure. Because as a dad, I was able to use, what I've done for the school, use my status, use my notoriety or whatever to be able to put ourselves in a position where I could be there. Yeah. And I wanted to be there, and so all that worked out perfectly.
Yeah. Yep. Amen, man. That's awesome. And what a cool experience, to get to call a game at the Superdome. Like, not a lot of people get to do that in life. You think about, the football playoffs being there every year, and it's not every school's got a real radio broadcast, right. So it's not that everybody just gets to do it. Two, a lot of times it's kind of the same hands that go most years, and so it is a unique experience. I've obviously never done it.
Well, I did recognize that only one of us in this room has done that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And man, I'm pumped up for Cooper to be a part of a team that gave you the opportunity to do that. Annalise and Elena never gave you an opportunity like that, and so I'm glad that the last one came through.
Well, to be honest, Annalise and Elena have both cheered in the Superdome.
While you called it?
Not while I called it, but while I was present.
I didn't think so.
And so very proud of them for, hey, if they didn't make the cheer squad and didn't do those things, a lot of their friends didn't make the cheer squad. Yeah. Then they couldn't have cheered in the dome.
Sure. And I just want to make clear that I'm only proud of Cooper in this moment.
I understand.
Just so that we're all square there.
To be honest, though, Cooper made 0 tackles yesterday. Yeah. Clayton Russell had a good game. So the PA announcer calls him by his government name. In fact, one of the very first tackles made by
That's
Mangum
funny.
was made by Clayton Russell on special
hilarious.
teams. And so we had a lot of Christian Poland, and instead of K Poland, we had a little Clayton Russell instead of Cooper,
Amen.
and some Roderick and Robertson and stuff. So
That's
yeah,
good
pretty
stuff.
cool.
Yeah. Well, man, it was a heartbreaker of a game. It for those of you who have no idea at all, Mangum dominated the stat sheet in all categories but one. And man, that's sports sometimes. It just is what it is. You know
Something that's unique about me on that is this. I've watched a lot of sports, coached a lot of sports, participated in a lot of sports, and really enjoy sports. It's just something Cooper and I have always enjoyed together. I enjoyed it with the girls when they were younger. We enjoyed it with Cooper. Yesterday he wore my chain and his chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday during the game, representing us being there because we've just been together,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was on the field way before I was ever even down there, and so it's just something that we've done together. We enjoy it. We've, we're here in the Superdome, and, some of the kids' first time ever in New Orleans and stuff, and Cooper's probably been in the Superdome 15 or 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
He's, they're at LSU's practice facility. Cooper's been there at a kicking camp, and seen the stuff. And so just, something that we've done together and stuff. So those memories are good. I was going somewhere else with that, but I forgot. But those memories are good for us and good for us to have. I remember where I was going. So out of all the sporting events that I've been a part of, coaching, watching, helping, calling, whatever, LSU, I'm a season ticket holder. They lose a game. I go to a game on Saturday night. Sunday, everybody's, are you okay?
Sure.
High school games, hey, man, it's a big loss. Are you okay and stuff? So, and this is the guy's honest truth. I've never had a second thought about an outcome of a ball game except one time out of every game that I've been to.
Which time?
Now, you got to remember, I went to the 2011 LSU National Championship game, spent thousands of dollars to go.
Is that the one where they didn't cross the 50-yard line?
It's exactly the one. Spent thousands of dollars to go when I didn't have thousands of dollars to go. Me and Jeff went, and they didn't cross the 50-yard line. And we were down there for like a week, and stuff, staying in New Orleans. And I have, coached some of my son's biggest games. We've coached World Series games, in baseball and stuff, and just different things. And then even yesterday, but, and this, and probably nobody believe it, but I've never been upset about a game. I've never had it linger with me. I've never had any issues going to sleep. I've never had any issues getting over it, anything except one game. There was one game, and I think it was our first year of Tackle 2 or our last year of Tackle 1.
How young was Cooper?
So they were probably 9 and 10, or they were 11. So
Okay.
I think it was 9 and 10, and I was coaching the team. And I'm calling offense on the field. And some of the same players that we saw yesterday, I'm coaching. So Rod Robertson's at quarterback. Reggie Robertson is at wide receiver. Cooper's playing wide receiver and safety. D.D. Galloway had been our running back, but he was playing a tight end position at the time. And so D.D. had gotten a little bigger, so we were maybe 9 or 10. We're probably 10. And we were in the championship game against Delhi. And we had been leading in this game, and all of a sudden, like it is in Tackle 2 sports, they hit the outside and they score and everything. In fact, Reggie and Rod's dad, who went to be with the Lord, was defensive coordinator for me. And so we get the ball and we got it right where we want it. We're down by like 1 or 2 points. We got the ball. We're going to go down there to go try to score, and we get a penalty. We mess up. We get a penalty. We get behind the chains. I call a play that didn't work for whatever reason, and we find ourselves down to where it's 4th down, and we got to make 4th and 14. And so we got to make 4th and 14 here. So it's a passing play. Everybody knows it's a passing opportunity. I'm on the field as the offensive coordinator and head coach, and I call a play that is only designed to get 9 yards.
Okay.
Okay? For some reason, I just didn't think that we should go to the end zone, which it would have been Rod throwing it to Reggie. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that's where everybody was going to be.
Yeah.
And so instead, I think I lined Dede up at the tight end position. He might have been playing running back at the time, but we lined him up at the tight end position, and we threw a pass to Dede that was supposed to go 9 to 10 yards when we needed 14. Mm-hmm. And so we threw the pass to Dede, and he got 12 yards. Yeah. Yeah. And so we lost the championship. Mm. That's the only championship we ever lost out of all of them in football. It's the only one that we ever lost from 6 years old to 12 years old. We never lost a game when we were in junior high, 8th grade when I was coaching and that kind of stuff. And that was the game that we lost. And it was my fault. Mm. And so out of everything else, I've never had an issue.
Yeah.
But when it was under my control and under my watch and I had a decision to make and then we did bad, that's the one that I took.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story to everybody in life is don't get so wrapped up in everybody else's stuff. Don't get so wrapped up in how everybody else feels or what happens or this or that or playing the name game, blame game on people and that kind of stuff. Man, you at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. Yep. Now, in life, knowing that, I try to control several things because I feel like I can depend on myself better than I can depend on people. But at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control.
That's right.
Yep.
So with that, here's a get-to-know-you question. And it's similar to something that you asked me recently, but I don't think that we discussed it. And, y'all were, 2 points? You lost by 2? And as we've discussed in the past, we just lost the state championship. We've lost 3 state championships in a row by a very small margin. So both of us, right there, and then you lose. And so here's the honest question: would you prefer to just barely miss it, or would you prefer to have just gotten absolutely drummed?
Yeah, and so and kind of brought this up the other day because in baseball, 2 years ago, we're in the state championship game with the lead in the 4th inning.
Yep.
And then make a pitching change and it all goes to whatever, And then last year, we're in the state semifinals with our stud on the field.
Yep.
Might as well be in the championship game. Mm-hmm. At that point in our mind,
Well, it was the game,
right.
This game is harder than the next one.
That's exactly right. And that going in, you're playing your arch rival. You got your stud versus their stud. Here we go. And so, so we've had that same heartbreaker in baseball, right there at the brink of the deal. And then, this time in football, man, I want to be competing at the highest level as much as possible, and whatever that is. And so if it's in championship games, I want to be in championship games. Now, do I feel some satisfaction that, hey, we're right there? Sure I do. Coach Woodruff said it yesterday in the press conference. Hey, the other 3 times we come down here 10 years ago, we got drummed.
Yeah.
This time we didn't get drummed. We got hit in the mouth, and we responded. Mm-hmm. And so to see that fight. But, yeah, man, I would rather be there. I was picking on my mama Wednesday because we were talking about the game. I think it was Wednesday night at supper. and it was like she was saying something, and she was, going to say, we're talking about the game the next day. And it just set up to where I thought she was fixing to say, well, no matter what happens tomorrow, I just hope it's a good game. And I thought that's what she was going to say. No. But that's not what she said. She said something different. Right. And I was like, look, I thought you were fixing to say something stupid. And she was like, what? I said, I thought you were fixing to say that you just hope it's a good game. Don't give a dang if it's a good game or not. I want to win. I want to win. But then when you lose, I'm glad that it was a good game.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about other people. I have no feelings of my own. I'm all about other people. And it's easy to console them when they can know that I feel like they played their best.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all gave them everything they wanted. Y'all fought hard. Y'all did good. Da 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 da. And when I can do that and with a good conscience, and they know that I'm being serious about it, that makes me feel good.
Yeah. So I assumed that was going to be what you said, and I also, it's not very often we end up on opposite sides of things, but this is one. I'd rather get my teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
I'd rather get my teeth kicked in. For the reason that you discussed earlier. You get your teeth kicked in, I just tip my hat to the person who did it, and I say, man,
we got to get better.
I was outclassed.
Right.
Wasn't nothing I could have done. I ran into a juggernaut, and he beat me to death.
Yeah.
And that happens in life. When you barely lose,
like the 2 yards I was talking about.
I can't stop thinking about it, because it's not just the game. You start thinking about the preparation.
Yeah.
We had 9 months leading into last season. Did we do everything we needed to do in that time? You think about the days you took off. You think about the days where the guys weren't focused and you just, you didn't rein it in. You just kind of, you think about those things. Think about the little things. Should we have spent more time doing this instead of that? And, did we develop our pitchers the way that we needed to? All of these different things come into play. That when you lose by 15 in 3 innings, you know how to think about.
Yeah.
It was like, we could have had Nolan Ryan and we'd have lost that game, And so I definitely, for sure, understand the perspective that you're sharing. And there's definitely something to that.
Right.
But in the general sense of things, in most cases, I'd rather lose so that I don't have to think about it. Because I am somebody who's extremely analytical. And, man, I can remember every time I almost won. The times I got blown out, I've mostly forgotten about.
Yeah.
It's not happened.
Or you just laugh them off.
Yeah, it's not happened a whole.
We shouldn't have even been there.
Right.
Right.
It's not happened a whole lot of times because I played at a large school,
Right.
so there were never really huge mismatches, and so there's only been a handful of times in my life where it was like, yikes.
Yeah.
But in those situations, you can move forward pretty easy. It's hard to be close.
It's difficult when we go in baseball and we're playing JPRD West, or East or whatever, and hey, we know we're not supposed to beat them.
Sure.
Now, the one time that we do beat them, we celebrate like we won it all, and we ended up, But you don't expect to beat them. But then one day we went down in 8th grade to Columbia and to Caldwell, and played some foolish umpire down there and lose a game. Hey, you get upset about that, because you're supposed to win it. But let me hit it from a different perspective, because you talk about getting blown out versus it being close, and I know this is a football baseball podcast, but let's hit it for the other people, in life. So it's kind of like this, all right, let's take me and Cooper, right? And so Cooper posted on his Instagram, something to the fact that it was a picture of me and him, and it said mission complete, and it said something more like, it's always been about more than football, because, hey, this is something we've done together.
Sure.
Like I said, Cooper's never played a game that I didn't coach or call. I've had some hand in it, and so it's something that we've done together. But what about if I sit here now that, hey, it's complete. Cooper and I are really close. It's complete. But what about if I sit here now and say, well, Cooper's playing career in sports is over. Well, what about if could I have done this better or that better, or what about if I would have done this or would have done that?
That's right.
And because it was, it's really close. We've done well. We didn't accomplish everything that we wanted to accomplish or that I wanted to accomplish, but now it's complete.
Yeah.
Right. So we're able to look at that now, and so I could sit here and nickel and dime that and be like, well, what about if we would have played travel ball this year? Or what about if we would have done this time? Or, maybe he would be playing baseball this time if we would have bought this bat, or if he would have had this success, or if we would have got this coach, or, or whatever it is, or if we would have moved him to defense earlier in the, in his career in high school instead of playing wide receiver and different things. And so we could look at that. And try to analyze that and mess with that and let the devil try to mess with our brain. But then the other side of it is the getting your teeth kicked in side. Well, the relevance to that is that me and Cooper don't have a relationship at all. Father and son get estranged for whatever reason. We not really in his life. Not able to do those things, and people were like, which way would you want it, and so for me, it's like, hey, let's be grateful for what we do have. Let's don't, be all so worried about what we don't have and stuff. And so for me, it's always more about the memories made instead of the memories that we didn't make. And so just in life, I just want to encourage everybody to focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative. Focus on what you are able to accomplish those times together. Treasure every one of those moments together and not worry so much about what could have been, should have been, and all that, because it could always be worse. It could always be difficult.
Sure.
Yep.
There's something else around that I want to touch on. It wasn't planned. I don't know.
None of this is planned so far.
Yeah. When you get close to success repeatedly, sometimes it can be difficult to walk away from something. And there is something intelligent about knowing when it's time to step away from something. I have seen people in life chase after dreams that have nothing to do with the kingdom, have nothing to do with anything besides just their own personal desires, and have a very hard time letting go of those because they've almost been successful. And when you get your teeth kicked in, it's easy to walk away and move into, hey, you know what? I'm never going to be the next drummer for Nickelback.
Right.
It's just not going to, that's obviously what I want. It is just not going to happen. I'm just not good enough. But when you get so close so many times, sometimes it's hard to let things go. And so it takes a level of discernment from the Spirit to allow you to let some things go. And so I just want to encourage our listeners that maybe if you have found something that you've been chasing for a while that has caused all things of the kingdom to elude you because you've been chasing this other thing, maybe it's time to take a look at that. Maybe you hadn't got your teeth kicked in, but that doesn't mean that it's time to hold on. Just because you're close doesn't necessarily mean hold on forever. Sometimes you got to let it go.
And that can be on the outside or part of the kingdom. It might have been that, you desired this inside the kingdom for all this time, and you've been chasing this, but it's not God's plan right now, and not saying that it wasn't God's plan before, but so many people have a difficult time with transition.
Yeah.
So many people have a difficult time understanding seasons in life, and I've just not been one of those. Was this week emotional? Yeah, it's emotional for all of us, knowing it didn't matter. The game outcome had nothing to do with any emotions that we've had.
Sure.
We had no emotions whatsoever over the outcome of the game. The emotions are because it's Cooper's last game. Not that we want him to play any more games.
Yeah.
It's just because we can't watch him play any more games.
Something finite about it.
Right. I mean, we don't get to make that decision.
No.
That is something that's out of our hands. Now, the good thing is that's something that's out of our hands. Now, if we would have been dead set on Cooper playing sports for a long expended time frame, we would have spent more time trying to be better at sports.
Yep.
So that we could do those things.
That's right.
But we didn't.
That's right.
It was never, ever discussed for Cooper to ever play any sport outside of high school.
Yep.
That was it. And so never in life was there ever any expectations.
Yep.
Now, let's say on the other side, so now that it's over, hey, it's a big deal. It's over. But we knew that it was going to be over. Well, guess what? It got extended. Because it got extended as far as it could possibly get extended. You can't get extended any further than your championship game or your senior year.
Yeah.
You know, Annalise's team didn't even make the playoffs.
You went all the way.
Right. Annalise's
the
team
last
didn't even
game you
make
were
the
gonna play
playoffs.
no
Right.
matter what.
As a senior, you know. And Cooper's, I mean, the very last game. So did it, hey, it got extended, and here it is. Your daddy, who you've done this together, gets to, you know, call the game. Could have been on the field coaching if that's what I desire to do. I would just rather call the game, you know. And so that part is over. But what about now? Here's another thing. Now let's say that Cooper decided to not go to college. Now that's different
Sure.
because that's never been discussed.
So I guess you haven't talked to Cooper
Right.
lately.
Yeah, that's never been discussed.
Yeah.
You know, and so because that is not part of the plan, you know, going to college has always been part of the plan, then that would be difficult because that's something that we've never talked about. That's something that we've never, you know, had. And so for us, him going to college is way more important than any sport or anything like that. And that's where the emphasis has always been.
So you have a really tight knit family. For if anyone is not aware of that, he's got possibly. I feel like I could make the argument you've got the closest family I've seen. Right. Will it be emotional for you and Miss Becky when Cooper does leave for college? Now, obviously, the reason I said the first thing is because obviously with you guys, there's no question about whether or not you're going to see Cooper regularly anyways. And so, but will it be an emotional thing, or is it something that...
It'll be for her. It won't be for me.
Okay. So you're not... There's nothing I can say or do to make you cry on this episode?
No, it's not
There's
that.
no topic I can bring up.
No,
we need it for the ratings.
Now, we're talking about something 8 months from now.
Yeah.
9 months from now. Okay. That is something that, you know, if he left to go today... Maybe, because we're not prepared for it. Because we're not prepared for that. No, I'm proud of them. You know, I picked on Cooper and Blake Sunday because they walked in with their Louisiana Tech quarter zips on Sunday before the game on Thursday. I was like, so y'all just skipping high school now. Right? Is that what we're doing? You know, and I know we've spent a lot of time talking about this, but this is to help everybody. This isn't just, you know, if y'all ain't figured out, we're not talking about football and baseball yet. Something's wrong with you, but we're just talking about how to handle family things, how to handle emotions, how to handle circumstances in our families and stuff. And so, yeah, we're going to be fine. I will say this, and this is important for you, and you've heard me say this before, but it's important for you because you're raising your family now, and mine is raised, but I have enjoyed every single phase of my children's lives. Yeah, and if you ask me what my favorite phase was, I don't know what I would say.
I already feel that. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. If you ever ask me what's the favorite thing that I've ever done, you know, the favorite thing I've ever done is probably coaching those boys, whether it was football or baseball or whatever. But here's why. It's because of the girls really enjoyed watching them play. You know, so the girls are cheerleading and stuff and watching, you know, her little brothers play and stuff. And his mamas, you know, getting to do it. So it was just something that we all did together. So Cooper and I got to spend a lot of time together that normal dads and sons don't spend together. And the whole family was able to rally around it. You know, so me coaching those boys, whether it's baseball, it didn't matter what we were doing. That was probably one of my favorite times, you know. But then at the same time, I was the best cheer dad that ever made. You
I've
know
heard
what
you
I'm
say
saying?
this on multiple occasions.
By far. You know,
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's over to the side that you can't see. That if anything ever happened where anybody tried to bother them, they would never know it. We'd be able to take care of the situation.
Yep.
You know, I'm the dad that asks them, hey, look, when you say stand up and yell purple and you say stand up and yell white, do you really want us to stand up and say that, or are you just doing a cheer?
Yeah.
You know, and if they're in 7th and 8th grade, they don't want you to stand. You know, but if they're in high school, right? But if they're in high school and you don't stand, you get in trouble.
That's funny.
You know, and so
You really embarrassed me tonight, Dad.
right.
I said stand up and yell purple.
And you did it. But 12 and 13-year-olds, it's like, don't do what we say. Because they're scared of everything, you know. So you're going to experience that is that,
Sure.
you know, you've really enjoyed all these things so far. And you're like, but what about when it's over? Yeah, but there's something else, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned, you know, the different phases, and I've got 4 kids that are in different phases simultaneously, in 4 separate phases, just because of they're so young, they're so different. You know, there'll be a point when they're all in their 20s that they're all pretty much in the same phase. It'd be a little different, but mostly in the same phase. Well, right now, 4 phases. And I love every one of them, and I love them all for different reasons, and they're all fun for different reasons. And, you know, Arya's starting to get old enough where she is starting to be competitive in some things with me. Not physically, she's still too small, but like mentally and intellectually, she's starting to, you know, learn and figure out how to be strategic in certain kind of games and stuff like that. And that's so much fun. But I don't like that more or less than I like with my 3-year-old, you know, and her wild, you know, attitude and just this care for nothing matters, just exuberance that she has at all times, you know. And it's very different, but I really do. I couldn't agree more. I don't want to rush them to age, but there's benefits as they age to things that we'll get to do we can't do right now. But I'll never get these moments again. Once they're gone, they're gone. And so.
So is there 6 years difference between Arya and Maddox?
A little more, but
Okay.
yeah, it's 6-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he's playing t-ball at 5 and 6, she is going to be in junior high. You know, like 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, there's going to be a tendency at that time, because just thinking of sports, because this is a sports podcast, you know, in sports, she, you know, y'all really enjoyed it when she was, you know, in t-ball, and then now you're in coach pitch and stuff, and then you get to the terrible age of 9 and 10-year-old ball where the, you know, it's player pitch, you know, and then she's going to get past that to 11 and 12, and so here it is, she's playing 11 and 12-year-old ball, which is some of the funnest ball there is. Yeah. You know, I mean, you get past the learning how to pitch deal, ball's fun 11, 12 years old, you know, and so you have a lot of fun. You have a lot of fun at 7 and 8s in the sweeties, and then you have a lot of fun, you know, in 11 and 12s. And so here she is. They're really playing pitch and catch. You know, they're throwing the ball and they're pitching and they're playing pitch and catch and stuff. And then you got to go to the t-ball field.
Yep.
Where everybody's just wild. And going crazy. But the good thing about your family is you get to go there with a son.
Yeah.
And so it's a different experience, you know, and get to go do that with a son, so it's going to be different for you. But I've seen a lot of that with people. Now, I didn't have that experience, you know, as much because my girls played t-ball and sweeties and stuff and were very good. And then when it got to the 9 and 10 years, they just decided we're not going to do this anymore. You know, that's just not them. And they just decided, hey, this is just not worth it. It's not worth this walk fest and all this kind of stuff. So they quit playing. But then Cooper, he goes through the whole thing, you know, and everything. And so, you know, it was just some different experiences. But that's going to be difficult for you is because Ari and them are going to be playing real ball.
Yeah.
Where they're really playing ball, and you have been being a ball player, you're going to enjoy when they're really playing ball.
Yeah.
When y'all can go out there and when you can play catch with her and throw it about as hard as you want to, and she's going to catch it, and everything. That's a lot of fun, and everything. And when you don't just have to lob it up there, but you can throw a little ball and she can hit it, hey, that's great. But then you're going to go back to T-ball. It's going to be wild, So it's going to be kind of fun for you to be able to look at that.
Yeah. And you talked about, with Cooper, kind of plans for him, and it wasn't your plan for him to go play college sports. You'd have done things different. And a lot of people assume that, you have to, or you're going to drive your kids towards your interest or towards the things you were successful in. But the reality is that's not been my experience at all. And I've had no struggle with that. Yeah. I think that a lot of people probably assumed I would when I was young, just because, ball was my whole life. But I'm an adult. Yeah. Ball is not my life anymore. Right. The kingdom is my life. Ball is just a fun thing we get to do on the side. Aria is extremely coachable, and I'm better at making people strong than my dad was. With her ability to be coached and my ability to make her strong, I can make her a great college athlete. She's expressed no interest to me in wanting to be that. And if she does later, then we'll adjust. But, I'm not trying to Rocky for my daughter, and create the next machine. Right. I want them to be wildly successful at whatever it is they want to be wildly successful at, and I will play whatever role needs to be played to see to it that they are successful. But,
the earliest any of my children have ever played a musical instrument was at 17 years old.
Yeah.
And that was Cooper.
And that was your thing.
And that was my thing.
Yeah.
And the earliest any of my kids expressed any interest was Cooper at 17.
Yeah. And I know that if they would have expressed interest in it earlier, you'd have let them do it earlier. It wasn't that you kept them from it. You just, Maddox yesterday, in the middle of everything else that's going on, we got a keyboard in our living room that I play from time to time, and in the middle of everything going on, Maddox goes and finds a chair, climbs up in it at the keyboard, and just starts hitting the keys. Keyboard's not even on. Hitting the keys, and he's singing, just doing his best. If that's something that he continues to do regularly, and it seems like he's genuinely, then I'll start showing him some chords and doing some things with him. We're not gonna make him do it because I do it.
That's right.
And that's I think that's a lot of the reason that Christianity has such a negative impact on kids when it's done the wrong way. It's like we treat children like, well, by God, we're going to go to church. And it's like, dude, going to church is not the thing. It's knowing Him. And they learn how to know Him by the way that you know Him. They don't learn how to know Him by your forceful dragging of them to church. And, a lot of people talk about the impact of that. There's a song, I forget the name of the group, and I'm ashamed of myself for it, but it was called Drug
New
Problem.
Kids on the Block?
It was called Drug Problem, the song was. Okay. It was about how they were drugged to church. And the whole premise of the song is if everybody had that drug problem, same drug problem I had, we'd be in a whole lot better spot. And it's a funny song, but I hear people reference it all the time. Yeah. It's like, yep, that was the whole deal, is I got drugged. But here's the deal, and I mean this genuinely. Of the people that I've heard say that, I wouldn't trade relationships with the Lord with none of them.
Right.
And it's like, yes, you continue to walk into church services, but you're nearly fruitless.
Yeah.
Nearly fruitless. And so I'm like, we can't force our kids into submission to the Lord. The kids will mimic what they see you doing and enjoying. The reason that my 1-year-old is playing the piano is because he watches me pretty much every day for at least some portion of time on my own accord, step over to that keyboard and play and sing. And he sees me enjoying that. And so he wants to enjoy. Your kids watched you not just go to church, they watched you model loving the Lord, serving the Lord, and enjoying loving and serving the Lord. And they walked in step. You didn't have to, hey, y'all get your tails out of bed. We're going to church. I can't believe y'all. You didn't have to do that.
Right.
Now at times, do we have to set boundaries? Of course. There's a difference. There's just a difference. And so,
and I will say this: you just brought up a great point that I want to talk about. Is this, because like I said, I don't even know what the topic's really supposed to be today, but
we didn't do it at all.
Yeah. So here we go. All right. So at church, one of the main things that my kids have seen me do since they were born was play music, help lead praise and worship, whether it needs to be leading the band and stuff and working everything out, or if it was just playing whatever instrument needed at the time. That's what they've seen. But all right, so most kids want to mimic their families and what they see, like you said. And so that's what most people would see. They would see Clay leading worship and stuff. But that's not what my family saw. What my family saw was Clay loving on people, right? Hey, we're here to help people. We love on people. They see that in our homes. They only see me play music for 30 minutes on a Sunday. They see us loving on people all day, every day, whether it's at church, not in church, and everything. So that's what they mimicked, was loving on people. So they all love people, and they love people well, and that's what they mimicked. And it wasn't until, 17, 18, 20 years old before they decide, hey, I could play music, and this would be something that would help out. The only reason why Cooper learned how to play music was because there was a need. The only reason why Annalise learned how to play music because she was bored, and she was like, oh, I'll pick this up, and I could help out with this. And so I think that's really cool in life that, my family didn't see just what was on the stage. They saw what was in the background. And what you see them mimic is what they saw that in the background.
Absolutely.
I do want to say this just on a funny note and question. Do you think that people use that phrase, drug to church, based off of that song, or do you think that song was based off of people saying that?
I would say the song was based off people saying it.
I thought so too, but then I heard you make a comment.
Now the song is often referenced.
So people use
it was
that.
Very popular. It's an older song, but it was very popular with the era of people that are sharing a lot in church and in smaller groups. So it was well before my generation. I would say this was probably people in their mid to late 50s were probably very familiar with this song. And so just having a lot of interactions, and that makes up the bulk of churches nowadays, is that 40s and 50s. And so I bump elbows with a lot of those people, and it gets referenced.
You hear that a
all the
lot.
time.
Well, then after you said that, you said something about that they go to church every Sunday, but they have very little fruit. And then all of a sudden I thought, hey, that could be a song. Because you said they have very little fruit, but they do have fruit. It's just bad fruit. It's not good fruit. Sure. And which is really weird as a Christian to bear bad fruit, but they are, And so then I got to thinking we could write a song that says, if I had no bad fruit, I would have no fruit at all.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for bad fruit, I'd have no fruit at all. Come on, man.
It's good though.
Yeah, I mean, because you are going to bear fruit.
And so, just for clarity, it is important that you bring your children to church.
Yes.
That's not what I'm not saying don't have your kids in church if they don't want to go. I'm not saying wait until they're ready to go to church. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is your children need to see you enjoying going to church. When you're going because of the social ramifications of not going,
they know.
It's like we have to. It's very obvious. Yeah. It's very, very obvious, and it feeds their impression of church. And so, my kids love church. Yeah. The days
because their daddy loves church. I see that.
There are days we tell them they can't go, and they get very frustrated. Yeah. And it's like one of them will be like very contagious, which we just kind of assume if one of them's contagious, they probably are all contagious. And so, hey, look, y'all aren't going to be able to go. They're not happy ever with that situation. And so why? Is it because we grab them by the hair and drag them and say, hey, y'all get no, it's not that at all. It's we enjoy going, and so we've always talked about church in a encouraging manner and an uplifting manner, and we enjoy this manner, and we love people, man, and so they love the same things. And all of my kids, my wife and I, if we go out and hit golf balls, what you're going to see very quickly is 3 little sets of golf clubs come out the door. Even if we don't ask them, they're going to go in there, they're going to grab their little golf clubs, and they're going to be out there. Why? Is it because they're all obsessed with golf? It's like, no, they see their parents enjoying something, and they want to enjoy it also. And so
it's because they're rich and they have their own golf clubs.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. If you're going to splurge in an area with your kids, get them a little set of golf clubs, man, they will have a blast.
There you go.
And so, anyways, man, I think that if we start anything else,
I think we've had a good episode.
End up running too long, and so I say, man, this was a really great episode about understanding family dynamics and understanding basically how to position yourself in life, as opposed to maybe what the expectations are on you, or what the expectations are that we tend to have for other people. Position yourself in a way that is going to benefit the whole, not that maybe is a preconceived notion that you had coming into it. Because a lot of people, you want to win everything, you want to be successful in everything. Those are givens. Are they realities all the time? No. And so set your perspective based on the kingdom, set your perspective based on loving people well, set your perspective on basically look at your life, take a step back, and look at it from an unbiased perspective. See things through the eyes of eternity. See things through the eyes of the Lord, and learn to love people through that lens. And you'd be surprised how much it will shift your perspectives and how you handle things, good or bad news.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how the episode started. So we took a situation that could be all bad news, and you had nothing but good things to say about it.
Right.
And it's like, how does that happen?
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, it's because I only see good things out of it.
That's right. But that's a choice. But that's a position. But that's a position you choose for yourself.
Right. It is.
And so we talked about that in class this morning.
Yeah.
It said the fruit of the Spirit, none of them are feelings. Every single one of them has a counterfeit version that is related to feelings, but none of them are actually feelings. Every single one of them is a position that we choose to root ourselves into. And so you made a choice of how you were going to be rooted, whether that game went well or whether it went poorly. And that's exactly what Paul says in Philippians 4:13, which is so often misused and misquoted without its context, when he says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. What he's saying is, I've had everything and I've had nothing. And I found myself to be content in both places because I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. He was rooted in a place that it doesn't matter which way the tide turns.
Yep.
And that's the same before you went into the game. You were rooted in a place it didn't matter which way the tide turns. We lost state championship last year. It didn't sully my life. I didn't come home grumpy and mistreat my wife and kids. Yep. I'm rooted in a place. But it's so much bigger than that, because those are very small, very, very small things to encounter in life. Losing a state championship game in the grand scheme of things is not even really a blimp on the radar. Losing a person that you love is.
Yes.
If you're not rooted in that moment, what happens? Now the tide has swung big.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Are you rooted enough that tide doesn't uproot you? That's the question. And that's what I think today's episode was about.
Yeah, I mean, going back to it, I'd a whole lot rather have these memories than to not have them at all.
That's right.
And so, hey, are we going to look back at all this time fondly? Sure we are. And but where the failure is if we don't have the memories at all.
That's right.
My mama taught me that at a young age, and all she said was this: it didn't matter if it was good, it didn't matter if it was bad. If we come in and we were griping about having a flat tire and having to change it and nobody stopping or this, whatever it was, and she would go, "Yes, son, but you're making memories."
That's right.
The worst thing that can happen is when you don't make the memories. You don't have the relationships. You don't have those things. They're not there anymore. You don't have an opportunity for more. Those are when it's difficult.
Absolutely.
But right now, we're just making memories.
Absolutely.
Hey, we love y'all.